So, I've been hearing a lot in the Dragon Ball community about certain characters that can, quote, solo the verse. Some of these characters include Sung Jin-woo from Solo Leveling, Rimuru from That Slime Show, and somehow people are even making up nonsense about Gojo from Jujutsu Kaisen. Well, here's the truth. These guys all suck. Boo! Put a tomato clip art on the screen. Boo! They're doing absolutely nothing to the Dragon Ball universe. They're all getting one-shotted by Yamcha. This information may or may not be true. But there is one guy that everyone always leaves out of these conversations. You might say he's even a family guy. A man that relies on the good old-fashioned values. This is the Peter Griffin of the Family Guy universe. Everybody knows this guy. He's one of the most known cartoon characters of all time, aside from people like Sonic or Mario. But unlike these characters, he has no powers. He's just an alcoholic dad from Rhode Island. Or does he? If you take a closer look into the deep and complex lore of Family Guy, you'll very quickly see that Peter Griffin has an absolutely insane arsenal of skills and abilities. Some of these are considered moon level, multiversal level, and even boundless. In this video, we're going to go over some of Peter's most notable abilities that can easily be translated into an anime universe like Dragon Ball. Then using these abilities, we're going to see how far Peter really gets into the Dragon Ball universe. So before we begin, I would be a bad YouTuber if I didn't ask you to like this video and subscribe for more beautiful content like this. First of all, we're going to talk about his strength. Peter has many times in the show where he shows his superhuman physical abilities. Like when he ripped a man's face clean off, or when he ripped two girls' faces clean off, destroying a drive-thru with a single kick, throwing Joe 100 feet through the air into a garbage can, and many, many, many more. Another, and possibly the most important ability Peter has, is his Toon Force. The first and definitely most notable use of Toon Force is Peter's ultimate ability of cutaways. Here, he has the omnipotent ability to send himself, as well as whoever he's with, to any scene throughout time. This could be past or future, fake or real. He basically has instant transmission times a million, and then some. He could also alter himself in these cutaways, turning himself into any shape or species, theoretically being able to turn into a Saiyan or even an angel if needed. A big thing to add into this conversation is Peter's regeneration and ability to avoid death. I don't think this man can die. He's been hit by more cars than you can count, flattened by pianos, slammed in between logs for a hat, skinned alive by bears, crushed by a whale, shot, stabbed, decapitated, literally everything. And has this man ever died? Hell no. He's too good to die. I also thought I'd add the fact that he survived the nuclear holocaust and acted like nothing ever happened the next day. Doesn't really add much to the argument, but I just thought it would be funny to say. Even if he does get a life-threatening injury that actually somehow threatens him, he can simply regenerate it. He casually showed off this ability by having his arm ripped off and instantly regenerating into a new one. This also created a new Peter from the Lost Arm, so that's a whole new ability to note. Infinite Peters with theoretically all the same abilities as the original. Pretty broken. Alright, reading through this list has made me realize that Peter has an ungodly amount of abilities, so we're going to speed through these. Ahem. He has immortality, duplication, conjuration of otherworldly spirits. R.I.P. Joe, this scene was very sad. Flight using the Peter Copter or Hinden Peter. Survival in space, extreme pain tolerance. One example of this tolerance is when he got his face blown off by pressurized water, and the only thing he was mad about was his shirt being wet. Alright, continuing here, we have body morphing, weapon mastery, superhuman senses, time manipulation, and resistance to cold and heat. Alright, so with that out of the way, I want to talk about forms. So of course, Peter doesn't have the typical forms a Saiyan like Goku would, but there are two notable forms that I do want to bring up for this video. The first form is Grim Reaper Peter. He received this form when he was taking over the position from the real Grim Reaper, who sprained his ankle. In this form, he gains death manipulation by gaining the Grim Reaper's touch. With this, he can instantly kill any living being, similar to the Hakai technique from the Gods of Destruction. He also gains a new level of immortality and pain inhibition. Another form that's very powerful is Radioactive Peter. He unlocked this form while fighting another universal threat, Homer Simpson. Here, he gains the ability of flight as well as heavily increased superhuman strength. He's able to create a supernova just from colliding with Homer. The only downside to this form is apparently it only lasts a few minutes. Alright, I'm going to cut the Peter part of this video here, because if I didn't, we would be here for weeks talking about all of his different abilities and forms throughout the years. And with that, let's get into part 2 of this video. Does Peter Griffin solo the Dragon Ball franchise? And if not, where does he stop? I think it goes without saying, but this is of course 100% theoretical, so please don't get too mad at me in the comments, alright? Come on. We're gonna blast directly past Dragon Ball Original here. I don't think anyone like Goku, Tien, Yamcha, or Roshi would be able to stop Peter if he chose to be an antagonist here. I also don't think anyone like Pilaf, Mercenary Tao, King Piccolo, Master Shen, or even people like Lucifer from the Sleeping Princess and Devil's Castle movie would pose any sort of threat to Peter. I think it's pretty safe to say that Peter would completely wash this Earth timeline. I don't even think that he really needs a specific form to do this. I bet this one can even be accomplished by simply using Retep, so basically he no-diffs this. The only fight that I could see Peter using even 1% of his power would be 4v1 against Goku, Tien, Jackie Chun, and King Piccolo. If that ever happened. Next up is the DBZ Saiyan saga. Raditz is a complete joke. Peter kicks him, which entirely rips him in half. No need for a special beam cannon. Nappa shares a similar fate. He would probably attempt to break Peter's arm, which would shatter every bone in his body, rendering him useless. Peter solos. And finally, Vegeta. He's the first actual challenge Peter has, and in challenge I mean makes him go around 1% power. Peter can even go as far to say, "Hey Vegeta, remember the one time we were watching Planet Vegeta explode?" And then right when they arrive at that moment in time, Peter casually pushes Vegeta in the way of the supernova, wiping him out, which means we move to the Namek saga. Alright, I kinda realize this video is gonna be stupid long if I keep making dumb jokes for every little character, so I'm gonna cut to the big hitters, Frieza and Super Saiyan Goku. Even together, these two do not make Peter go above 3% power. Although it's possible he evolves to Terminator Peter for this battle just to stunt for the hose. Okay, I actually hate this script. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. Long story short, Frieza and Goku dead. I'm putting the rest of the Z Saga into Supercharge here. The androids in Cell get steamrolled, as well as people like Super Vegeta and Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. Let's say Gohan does get a father-son Kamehameha off. Peter then gets blown into chunks on the pavement, which, as a result, turns into 1,000 Peters. Safe to say, it's over. In the Buu Saga, characters like Buuhan, Ultimate Gohan, Gotenks Super Saiyan 3, and Goku Super Saiyan 3 altogether would definitely force Peter to go into Wolverine Peter mode. But when activated, it would be a pretty safe call to say that Peter walks away from that. Now Super is where things seriously ramp up for Dragon Ball power scaling. The introduction of Super Saiyan God complicated things for Peter. This is where I believe he has to go into Radioactive Super Peter at around 5 to 10% power. Definitely 10 to 15% if he's fighting both Goku and Vegeta in this form at once. Going over to the Universe 6 tournament, I don't believe a guy like Hit would cause too much trouble for Peter. We've never seen him throw a crazy strong punch, usually just punches fast and goes for vital spots. And if you didn't notice, Peter has no vital spots. His pain tolerance is through the roof. He also has a little ability of time travel and teleportation, which is far superior to the time skip Hit uses. He's not really going to be a problem. I just thought about this while editing, but I do think that Crack Peter would actually be a direct counter to Hit. The whole vital spot thing is basically nullified in this form. Going back to the Saiyans here, Super Saiyan Blue, Goku, and Vegeta together would probably require around 50 to 60% power from the Radioactive Super Peter, which would be quite the fight. But Fuse Zamasu is a completely different story. I believe that if Peter lets Zamasu get to a planet form, the only way for success would be to use his Remember When cutaway dimensional travel gimmick, which we've used enough at this point, or his final form, Grim Peter. With this form, he unlocks a new height of immortality as well as the most important thing, Instant Death Touch. If he even lands a single hit on Zamasu here, his flimsy Dragon Ball immortality isn't going to save him. Now we're getting to endgame here. This is Ultra Ego Vegeta and Ultra Instinct Goku. A fun way that Peter could win this is by saying, "Hey guys, remember that one time where Kaioshin gave me and Retep the Patara earrings? Sorry for the horrible Peter rendition, I'm from Wisconsin, I'm not from Rhode Island." This creates the mighty warrior known as Reader, or Reader. Oh wait, shit, it's the same thing. Alright, never mind. Reader using the earrings is crazy. The Patara isn't just a sum of its user's power, it's multiplied. Using Radioactive Peter is going to be overkill, but that's probably what he does. The Gods of Destruction and Angels are also going to be in this same boat. except Reader probably would have to go full power to end them all. This is the final stretch. All that's left is the Grand Priest and Grand Zeno. Here, Reader knows that the only option left is to go into his final form, the Grim Reader. And with this, he eliminates the Grand Priest. The final person in the franchise, Grand Zeno, stands before Reader. Will he be able to activate his ability of complete erasure? Or will Grim Reader use his reality warp to get close enough to Zeno in order to erase him in his own way? Well, I'm not sure, so I'm going to let you guys determine what happens here. Wow, this video is so much more horrible than I originally thought, but hey, I'm glad I put it out into the world. If you made it to the end, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more otherworldly genius content like this. Alright, I'll see you in the next SS Jammo Theory video. See ya.